All right. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Um, it's been a rough day for me and my wife. My wife's sister, whose name is Phyllis, is in the hospital, and she's not expected to live more than probably another day. So it's been a rough day for me and my wife, and if you could put us in your prayers, we'd really appreciate it. But anyway, so while I was took my wife to the hospital and I stayed a while, and I'm not good at hospitals. I'm just not that person. I get in there, and I mean, I stayed up there about an hour, but I just wanted to get out of there. I just don't like hospitals. I've always had that thing going on for years. I don't even like to go to the hospital. When I'm hurting, I'm like, I'll be okay. But anyway, so I took off. I said, I'll come and pick you up, come pick you up later. I'm going to go to Jimmy's. So I went to Jimmy's Vintage Music in Auburndale, Florida. And Jimmy's my buddy. So he had this there. This is a 2013 R9 Relic 9, and it's aged. And this was, it's a custom shop piece. And a guy, if you've ever heard of Tom Murphy, if you know anything about Gibson, Tom Murphy is probably the best at doing relics and aging Gibson guitars in the custom shop. He's the guy that kind of started all that stuff, and he's the best. So we don't know that he directly had anything to do with this guitar, but this is like one of the best aged R9s I've ever seen. I mean, a lot of them have a lot of checking on them. I like how this one's worn up here. It's actually worn then down here on the horn here. A lot of them, like I said, they have a lot of checking. This has some checking. I don't know if you can see it in the picture or not, but it's not that bad. But I definitely like that. Let me show you the back of it. Yeah, you can see where they did the right here. It's worn. I mean, that's typical of a Les Paul, and that just looks natural. I mean, they did a great job. And then the back of the headstock. Let me put that up there. You can see the worn up there. And then let me flip it over here. You can see it just looks really good. I mean, it's been aged well, so to say. I know it's not an old, this is 2013, so this guitar is 12 years old. I mean, it's getting some age. But, and this guitar just has a great neck. Like I said, it's a 59. I'm going to tell a story about my two old Les Pauls at the end of this. I just love the way this thing sounds. And that's on the neck pickup with just a clean sound. And I got the amp set. I got the bass cranked a little bit. Let me turn it back a little. The presence is about straight up. Again, I'm playing through a Paul Reed Smith amp, and I've said this before. I love this amp, but I just don't like that it doesn't have a lot of sag. When I play through my Tone King amps, the tubes have a little more sag in them, and they a little warmer tone for me. So that's the neck pickup. That's the neck and the bridge. So here's the bridge pickup. And I've owned 259s. I still have one, but I've owned two, and I've owned a 58, and I'm going to tell that story here in a few minutes about the 58 and 59. But they did a great job. I mean, this looks like a real 59 Les Paul, and it's got a nice top, and I like the aging they did was just perfect, I think. But anyway, this guitar, if you like it, Jimmy has it, and it's for sale. And it comes with the original case, and it has the original certificate of authenticity. So, and I thought it was cool that the case, the serial number on the certificate of authenticity matches this number that's on the case here. I don't know if you can see how they got the serial number up here on this case, so that that matches the number of the certificate of authenticity. And it's it's a vintage looking case like they had back in the 50s. So this guitar, the neck is a 59 profiled Gibson neck. It's a little, this one's not too chunky though. Some Gibson guitars, they get them and they're a little chunky, a little fat and hard to play. And this one was some distortion, a little bit of overdrive. That's with about, I got the volume turned down pretty low. It's getting kind of late. And the gain's only on about 2. That's one thing about humbucker pickups. Especially these ones from the custom shop, man. They sound... I'll put a little more gain on it. I'm gonna crank the gain up to about 3.5. Man, that neck pickup has got it, man. Let me crank up the gain just a little bit more. I'm gonna put it about halfway. See what we get. So this is on about 5, right in the middle. Getting in the Gary Moore sound now. Anyway. Wow. Great sounding guitar. So if you can't afford a real 59, which who can? These are the second best. I mean, these are somewhat affordable. These usually go for around 8 or 9. Jimmy has this one priced for $68.99, and I'm sure if you called him, he'd give you a deal. Jimmy's the kind of guy that will give you a deal. A lot of music stores anymore don't do that. If you go to Guitar Center, I know they used to give out deals, but unless you know somebody high up in the chain there, they don't give any deals anymore. It's the price of what's on the instrument, on their vintage stuff. And it's been that way for a long time. I used to be able to go in Guitar Center here in Lakeland and make some good deals with a guy that used to work there. He's in Nashville now. And if you're ever in Nashville, look up Barrett. He works at the Nashville Guitar Center. Great guy, knows a lot about guitars, man. If you go there, he knows his stuff. He's the guy you want to contact in Nashville at the Guitar Center. So So anyway, this guitar is righteous. It's 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 the real deal. So I got this story I want to tell. Back in the '70s, back in my day, which was many years ago, I was playing in a rock band called the Balance Band. We were a five-piece rock band, two guitar players, a keyboard player, bass player, and a drummer. And it was classic. We did rock and roll music. All kinds of good rock and roll. Um, but I played I think at the time I was playing a gold top, about a '72, the ones with the deluxe with the mini humbuckers. I have pictures of me playing it. I had long, long hair back then too. But and I played it back for a while. I used to play through two Princeton reverb amps, and we'd mic them, and it worked okay. But I wanted to always have a Marshall amp, and I always wanted to get an older Les Paul. So the guy I was playing in the band with, Paul Gillespie, he played rhythm guitar and he was a singer. He called me up and he says, "Hey, there's this lady and she's selling this old Les Paul, and it's a 1958, sunburst quilt top. She only wants $500 for it." Well, at the time, I was pretty much a broke musician, and I went down. This is the honest truth. I went down to a finance company and begged them to loan me $500 so I could buy this guitar, this Les Paul, and they did it. So I got that money, went down there and bought this '58 Les Paul from this lady, and it had belonged to her husband. It'd been underneath the bed. It was gorgeous. I mean, it had a real nice. It was probably maybe a little more flame than this one, but it was just beautiful, and it sounded so good. Those PAFs, man, it sounded wonderful. So I was in heaven, man. I thought, man, this is great guitar. So a guy from New Jersey found out about this '58 Les Paul I had. So he calls me up and he says, "Hey, man, I want that '58 Les Paul you got." I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't think I really want to sell it." He goes, "Well," he says, "I have a '59 Les Paul that's pretty nice. I'll trade you that and a 100-watt Marshall lead head with two 412 cabinets." And I went, uh-oh. Now he's talking, because I thought, man, I always wanted to have a Marshall. So, make the little story as short as I can. Yeah, I did the deal. Traded the '58 for the '59 and the Marshall. So, and I've told the story about the Marshall amp, how I took it to the club and cranked it up and the cops came. It was loud. So I owned that '59 Les Paul, and it was a nice guitar too. It was probably more like this one. It was a pretty guitar too, and it sounded good too. It had the old PAFs, the whole thing, the whole thing of wax, man. So I had that guitar for years. I bet I kept it for 5, 6, 7 years. And then this guy in Kokomo, Indiana, where we were playing, we used to play a room called the Pumpkin Vine Room, a rock and roll club we used to play. And he says, "Man, I want to get that Les Paul, man. I love your Les Paul. I want to get it, trade you out of it." I said, "Man, I don't want to do that." And you got to understand, this is in the '70s still. And '58 Les Pauls and '59 Les Pauls aren't going for, 150, 200,000 yet. So he says, "Man, I got a '64 two-door Ford Fairlane that's mint. I'll trade you for that Les Paul." And I went, uh-oh. and he brought it up, and I looked at this car, and it was like, oh my God, it was beautiful. I don't know if anybody knows what a '64. It was they actually called a 63 and a half, or it was a 64 and a half. I can't remember. I don't even remember. It's been so long. But if it was a 63 and a half, it had It was really a 64, but it had the taillights from a 63 Ford Fairlane. And this was a two-door. It was a beautiful red with white interior. I mean, it was a pimp mobile, man. I was like, dude, that is it, man. So I traded. Stupidest thing I ever did. Stupidest thing I did was trade the 58 off, but anyway, you know. But I've owned a bunch of Les Pauls after that. I still have, I can't even remember how many I have now. I have around 20 Les Pauls, I guess. I'm going to try to take them out one day and take a picture of them, and I'll hold it up. I don't know how to, you know, I'm not real hip to this video editing stuff yet. I don't know how to put stuff on the screen. One day I hope to learn to do that. I have a couple programs. I just don't know how to use the stuff. But I'm going to take the time to learn it. I have a guy that's supposed to come over and help me, show me how to do all that stuff. But I don't mind doing it just this way, you know, the way I've been doing it. So anyway, that's my Les Paul story. And like I said, someday in the future, maybe I'll just get them all out here and set them all up around here and play them all so you can hear them. They all do sound a little different. You know, they all have their own character. That's one thing about playing guitar I've noticed that throughout the years. I mean, I've been playing for around 50 years. Every guitar has a story, and every guitar has its own character. You know, I don't know if you know, trying to think of his name. Well, Joe Walsh. You know, he has a couple nice old Les Pauls, and those things sound so good. You know, Joe Bonamassa owns a bunch of old Les Pauls. Those guitars sound great. You know, they have a lot of character and a lot of soul, and they have a lot of stories. You know, and you imagine, you know, I'm sure, you know, Joe didn't buy those guitars when they were new. They were bought, you know, somebody bought them back in 1958 or 59 or back in that period, and I'm sure there's a lot of stories to be told by those guitars. I wish guitars could talk. But anyway, I guess some of my stories, I don't know if I want them told. Well, listen, I'm going to run. I'm not going to do any kind of lesson tonight. I just wanted to share this guitar with you. And I played that first little bit. That was for my sister-in-law, Phyllis. Like I said, she needs your prayers. Our family needs your prayers. So keep us in your thoughts and prayers. And listen, y'all have a great night. And God bless you all. And hug the ones you love. Have a good night.